Okay. I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 12th meeting to order. And Renee, if you will note that all board members except Katie Hutchinson are present. And I invite you to recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
which it stands, one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
for all.
That was smooth.
Okay. We do not have any board salutes tonight.
No.
And so the first item will be approval of the agenda. Board, can I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda, Madam President.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Clayton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any discussion, questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye, and I will go through Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
Aye.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to see everybody's face. Wait a minute. I'm missing somebody. Well,
Yourself.
Katie. She's not. Oh, myself. Ha, thank you. I will say aye. Okay. The agenda is approved. Sorry, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Sorry about that. The next item is approval of the minutes from the previous meetings. Board may have a motion.
Madam President, I move that we accept the meeting minutes from the previous board meeting of 4/14/2020.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins, and thank you, Dr. Clayton. Any questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the previous meeting, please signify by saying aye. Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
Aye.
See, I just missed somebody again. Mr. Hawkins.
Aye.
Okay, and I say aye, so the minutes are approved. We have no public comments on agenda items. And our next item is the consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. Board, do I have a motion?
Move to
Madam
approve.
President,
Yes, Ms. Perkins, is that you?
well, it was me, but somebody else said it, so it's okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buckwalter. Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hawkins.
In the personnel and stipend report, there are some days listed under the stipends as SIG days. What does that stand for? SIG.
Is that the SIG?
SIG grant. Kim, you.
SIG grant?
Yes, that is the school improvement grant that was awarded to our schools. It's a federal grant,
Okay.
and they utilize that money to offset those expenses.
Okay. I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Abstain.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
And I say aye. So the consent agenda is approved. Okay.
What is that vote?
Pardon?
What was the vote then? 4-1.
The vote was 5-1.
5 to 1.
5
5-1.
yeses and 1 abstention by Dr. Clayton. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Gifts to buildings. Maybe I'll just do that. Okay. We do have a lot of gifts to buildings. We have quite a few gifts to the archery team at New Wash, B&E Academy. We have some things that quite a few things for Charlestown High School, Charlestown Middle School, for the Pride program, for the library, for the art club. So we have a total of $10,499.43. So board, can I have a motion to approve gifts to buildings, please?
Madam President, I move to accept the gifts to building.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Clayton. Any questions about the gifts to buildings? Okay. All those in favor of approving gifts to buildings, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Okay, and I say aye. So the gifts to buildings is approved. Our next item is the Neola policy revisions, and this is the first reading, so there's no action required. And it's Ms. Geltmaker.
Thank you. That's correct. These are proposed updates from Neola. Most of these policy updates are changes to reflect new and revised law. The current policies with the proposed changes are attached. These proposed changes will be presented at the first board meeting in June for final reading and adoption. I've shared these changes with our department heads for their input as well. And again, this is first reading, so no action is needed at this time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Geltmaker. Our next item is the resolution and policy 8416 adoption, and that's also Ms. Geltmaker.
Thank you. The Indiana State Board of Accounts previously advised all school corporations to take steps to address the disruption of work environment, employee benefits, and compensation by developing a policy specific to this current emergency situation that we're all dealing with COVID-19. We previously did adopt a resolution to address compensation for our employees. This attached resolution and board policy will authorize our superintendent to take action to ensure the safety and well-being of our school community for the remainder of the current school term, which is actually coming soon, or until the national emergency has ended, whichever occurs first. This will also allow our school leadership to continue the business of our school as provided in the attached policy. Due to the emergency that we're currently facing, it is determined that it is necessary to suspend any rules requiring 2 readings prior to adoption. So we're asking that this policy be adopted without requiring a second reading. This is recommended by both Neola and the Indiana School Board Association. And essentially, this resolution and policy, again, is just allowing the superintendent to continue the school board's business without having to worry about waiting for a school board meeting. And then, of course, any business then would come to the first school board meeting as scheduled.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Geltmaker. Board, may I have a motion on this resolution and policy 8416 adoption?
Madam President, I move that we approve the resolution and adoption of policy 8416 without a second reading.
Thank you,
As
Dr.
rec-
Clayton. May I have a second?
I
Second.
second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or comments?
I have a question, please.
Yes, Mr. Hawkins.
This would be for Ms. Geltmaker. As I understand this, any policy or any revisions or any issues business that is taken outside of meetings or outside of approval by the board as deemed necessary by the superintendent would come to the board at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And in fact, the policy specifically states that the superintendent will first consult with the board president, or if unavailable, the vice president prior to taking any action. And
What-
then it will follow up with taking it to the board for approval at the
What
next
hap-
board meeting.
What happens if the board determines as by majority vote that they do not approve of the action taken?
Well, then it would have to be retroactively
Rescinded?
rescinded, correct? That's
Okay.
correct. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay.
I have one other question also. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins.
We are approving this, I understand by the resolution, that any policy can be passed now without a second reading. Does that only apply to policy 8416, or does that apply to all policies from here on out until the emergency is declared over?
That is 8416 and any emergency policy that we deem would be an emergency. So I'm not taking those previous policies in the first action item for one reading because those I don't deem those as an emergency. These are our regular biannual policies. So I am going to take those for 2 readings.
So again, with this position, then if a policy is brought up and it goes to, and it's accepted in the first reading, that would be it from there? I mean, from there on, there would be no second opportunity for the public to make any comment on it. Is that?
If I brought it to the board and the board did deem that as an emergency and it decided to rule to adopt that on the first reading, correct?
Okay. All right.
The board
Thank
would
you.
have the opportunity to tell me that it wanted to take it for a second reading.
Okay.
And this is, Ms. Geltmaker, this is a rather specific policy. And this is from the State Board of Accounts, right?
This is, well, the State Board of Accounts back in March asked the school corporations to start taking steps to
Mhm.
avoid disruption of a number of things that the school corporation would end up doing throughout this emergency. And the first thing that we did last month was bring the resolution for the compensation for our employees. And then this is the second thing, is just to ensure that there is no disruption in maybe personnel matters or actually we took another resolution last month for there was an ask for someone to utilize one of our buildings for an emergency situation.
Yes.
But so those types of similar emergency
Mhm.
situations. So it's the State Board of Accounts asked us to be proactive in taking this kind of action, and Neola and the School Board Association then suggested that we adopt this resolution and policy.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just like to address what, that was a good question, Bill. What I have found out in the past is that anytime something comes up in a nature of an emergency or need to do something, usually the president and the superintendent has contacted board members before that decision has been made. So I hope they continue to do that so we don't get into turning something down after it's been, approved to go.
Right.
I agree, Milt.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of approving the resolution and policy 8416 adoption, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins?
How do you want to know, vote?
Pardon?
Well, right now it's asking for an aye.
Oh,
and
okay. All right. Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Okay, and I say aye. And anyone opposed, nay? Mr. Hawkins?
Nay.
Okay. All right, we have 5 ayes and 1 nay. The resolution and adoption is approved. Okay, our next item is student teachers at Western Governors University. Dr. Hartledge?
Yes, Board, good evening. Each year, we have several colleges and universities who request placement of student teachers in our schools. We greatly appreciate the relationship that has been built through this collaboration for the purpose of educating tomorrow's teachers through face-to-face interaction with students in the classroom or virtual, whatever we may have ahead of us. The experience gained by the teacher candidates is both invaluable and very professional. Our Greater Clark teachers have given the student teachers a direct glance into what it looks like and what it feels like to serve as a P through 12 clinical teacher. This also helps to support our schools and to recruit future teacher candidates for our district. Western Governors University has also asked us to sign a new affiliation agreement with them in order to assign students to our schools as part of the educator preparation program. WGU wants to update all of their affiliation agreements with community partners and schools. And it has been reviewed by Ms. Geltmaker.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Board, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move that we accept the Western Governor University's proposal for student teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Buckwalter. Do we have any questions or comments on this?
I have a question, and excuse my ignorance, but where is Western Governors University?
It's up north. I'm not exactly where the city is, but it's north of Indianapolis.
I presume it must have been instituted
Is
well
it-
before the Louisiana Purchase.
I
I
believe that
really
they-
would like to know where it is.
I think it's another big online university, sort of like the
It
University of
is.
Phoenix type.
That's what I thought.
That's what it is.
It is. It's yes, and it's actually located in Indianapolis. Yes,
So it's a
online.
online public, is it a charter? Oh, no, it's a university.
Oh, it's
Excuse me.
Online university, correct?
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
we've
So
had
we're gonna be-
several student teachers from them in past years that are from this area, and then they want to come back and do their student teaching with us.
Okay.
Teresa, that's Western Governor University is a private nonprofit online university based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. That help you out?
So what I'm trying to understand, what we're going, I mean, I understand what a student teacher learns if they're going to go in a classroom, but if this is online,
I think there are branches of it up in Indianapolis because
Right.
the lady who runs it, who I've been dealing with, used to be in Department of Ed. She used to run the Hallie Abel department. Her name is Amy Marchand. And so I
Yes,
think
that's
there
right.
are satellite offices where they go in and attend classes, but the bulk of it is online as well.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about this?
I looked through the documents really well. I think it's very thorough, and they're doing, a lot of front loading of, background checks, that sort of thing. They have had clinical experience, so it's not like they've just learned about teaching all online and we're going to throw them in a classroom. So they're asking a little bit of our classroom teachers, but they do have a university supervisor that goes in there and does induction support and that sort of thing. So I think it's a good deal.
Thank you, Mr. Buckwalter.
Okay, anything else? All right. Thank you, Harmony, for your input. Let's see, let's go for a vote here. All those in favor of the collaboration for student teachers from Western Governors University, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
Aye.
Okay, and I vote aye. So this item is approved. Okay, next we have the revised school calendar, which is the 2019 through 2020 calendar.
I think we
Uh,
skipped one.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
Number 4.
I'm
18.
sorry, my bad. That's what
18.
happens when I use paper and pencil. AT&T contract for telephone services at Jeff High School.
Yes, we currently have an integrated services digital network with a primary rate interface. And this is a phone circuit that is currently installed at Spring Hill Elementary, which serves all schools equipped with the voice over IP. Since we are selling Spring Hill, we need to move that service to another location. And Jeffersonville High is the best location for that move. It centralizes its services for all schools to have equal access. And our contract with Spectrum has expired, and the pricing received from AT&T will save money and also allow us access to additional, more reliable services than we have experienced with Spectrum. So we're increasing our technology functionality and decreasing in our price.
And
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Board, can I have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move the approval of the contract with AT&T.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Perkins, may I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have a question now. Why is Jeff High School the best place for it? That's all I need to know. Is it because we have other technology stuff up there?
Yeah, I think they have the most phone traffic too. Is a big-
Got you. Okay.
What kind of connection do we have at Jeff High to AT&T? Do we have I'm assuming it's direct fiber, but do we know what the capacity is?
I do not.
I want to
just
say
know
Miss
that
Miss Bauer said it 23
it can service 23 concurrent calls.
at a time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you said, excuse me, I got one more question. You said we were with Spectrum or something,
Yes, and our contract expired.
and the service was not appropriate, or what?
Well, it was housed at Spring Hill and our contract expired. So we needed to figure out what we were going to do since we were selling Spring Hill.
Uh-huh.
That contract with Spectrum was over. So they did some research and found out that the AT&T device actually has greater functionality and it's
Okay.
also cheaper.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.
Comparatively speaking, roughly what were we spending with Spectrum versus what we'll be spending with AT&T, or do we know?
I don't have the answer to that.
I don't either.
Okay. All right. Not a problem.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Okay, all those in favor of approving the AT&T contract for telephone services at JHS, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
Aye.
Okay, and I also vote aye, so this item is approved. Now, the next item is revising the 2019-2020 school calendar. This is a little bit retroactive because of the situation that we're going through. Who's going to speak about that?
I am.
Dr. Hartledge, okay, thank you.
The administration collaborated with teachers and administrators to revise our 1920 school calendar due to COVID-19 pandemic. And it illustrates the 14 waiver days and 26 e-learning days that we are taking. And our final day of school for students is on May 15th.
And now, Kim, I believe, the governor asked us to complete at least 160 days, but we're actually completing 161, I believe, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Board, do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the revised 2019-20 school calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Buckwalter. Any questions or comments about this? Okay. All those in favor of approving the revised 2019-20 school calendar, would you signify by saying aye? Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Okay. Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
And I say aye, so this item is approved. Now, let me find my papers here. All right. The next item we have is the summer food service program.
Yes, thank you. The Department of Education has identified our school corporation as meeting the criteria for eligibility to participate in the summer food service program. This is something we've been doing for several years and years. The program is for children 18 years of age and younger to receive free meals during the summer months and other times when school is out of session for extended periods. This program also allows us to employ our food service staff a little longer by using them during the summer school. There is a financial incentive for participating as the rates for reimbursement are higher than they are for the National School Lunch Program. The participating schools are Jeff High, Pleasant Ridge, and the mobile food truck will be open from June 1st, 2020 through July 17th, 2020. Riverside Parkwood will open from June 1st through July 3rd of 2020. New Washington Middle High will open from June 1 through July 3rd. All sites will be closed on the 4th of July and are subject to early closure due to low participation. So we're asking permission to approve the application to the Department of Education Summer Food Service Program.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dykle. Board, may I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve making application to the Department of Education for the summer food service program.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
Bam, 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 bam.
It was a tie. It was a tie.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you all have any questions or comments on this item?
I have one.
Mhm.
Dr. Dykle, do we know what the net cost to the school corporation for this is roughly? I realize it may vary because we have lack of participation or some other issues, but over the past history compared to our standard lunch program?
Wow. No, Natalie, do you have any idea how much it would cost?
Generally, we
'Cause it
make
depends
money.
on- Yeah, we're making more money than what we do normally, but it depends on how many people we have working
Okay.
to offset.
For the state, this program is funded by reimbursement dollars, and the summer feeding program is supposed to be a break-even program.
Okay.
So we usually come out a little bit of ahead, and we get audited every summer. So whatever
Okay.
amount that we come out ahead has to be invested back into our program.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Natalie.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay. All those in favor of making application for the summer food service program, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So this item is approved. Our next item is the Charlestown High School Tennis Complex.
Mark, do you want to handle that one?
Go ahead, Tom. If you-
Okay. I figured this was a good one. The bids were advertised on March 20th and 27th and opened on April 23rd at 2 p.m. There were 7 bidders, which was great. Prices ranging from $1.267 million to $1,343,000. For the base bids, overall, the total bids for all 4 alternates range from $1,305,300 to $1,425,000. So they were pretty well close together. The superintendent recommends awarding the Charlestown High School Tennis Complex to Calhoun Construction from Louisville, Kentucky at their low overall bid of $1,305,300 per the attached spreadsheet. The project was authorized in October 2019 and will be paid by the 2019 bond issue. In the bond, we had budgeted $1,890,000 for this project, so it came under the estimated price. Yay. So we're asking permission to award it to Calhoun Construction.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dykle. Board, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move that we accept the award we award the contract for Charlestown High School Tennis Complex to Calhoun Construction.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. May I have a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Clayton. Any questions or comments about this item?
I have a question. Because I've been asked, I think I know the answer, but I want somebody else to answer it for me. The money, we're cheering because there's money left over. I've been asked, does that go back to the voters? And
No.
my understanding is if it can fund anything that was within the scope of that bond. Is that correct?
Yes, and it can be used at any of the schools that that bond issue was sold for. So if we have an overage like at Jeff High, we can use this savings to pay for the overage. If we have an overage at Charlestown High or any of the other projects, that money could be moved around among all those schools. It doesn't have to be strictly at that one school. Now, the difference would be Franklin Square, where we only have one school and it was for $15 million. So that money all has to stay and be used at Franklin Square. That's the
Got
difference.
it.
Okay.
Dr. Dykle, I have another question also.
Uh-huh.
The money can be used on any of the schools that were in the bond issue or any of the buildings. Does it have to be used for items that were listed in the bond issue, or can it be used on anything on those buildings?
No, it could be used for anything on those buildings.
Okay.
That's why what we could do then is we can come back to the board and do a second round of additional projects. You know, once we finalize how much money we have left after all the projects are done, you know, just like on the 2016 bond issue, you know, we did the initial bond issue and then we had to do another HVAC at Parkview Middle School. So we ended up doing another $800,000 because we had over $1 million left in that whole bond issue from 2016. So we are actually able to get a lot of work done using the one bond issue.
So if I understand properly, then anything that we're doing outside the original scope of work would have to come to the board for approval before it could
Yes.
be, that extra money could be spent?
Yes, because chances are it's going to be a big amount of money that would probably have to be like a bid. So we'd have to get authorization to bid it.
Okay.
Okay.
Bill, that's one of the things, next Tuesday at the work session, we were going to go through, give you an update on each project,
Right.
what the bid was, you know, if it was over, under, and sort of where we stand on each project. You know, because a couple of the projects came in more than what we bonded, you know, so this is a good thing in terms of having this money to help with maybe the transportation project or, you know, a couple others on, you know, that are on that list.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this item? All right. All those in favor of approving or awarding the Charlestown High School tennis complex to Calhoun Construction, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So this item is approved. Okay. Our next item is the rejection of the 2020 school bus contract proposals.
Yes, good evening, board. This is Chad. What we have before you in the spreadsheet that I submitted were the bids that we opened on Monday, May 4th at 1 p.m. And after a lot of deliberation and consultation with Ms. Fitzpatrick, our superintendent cabinet, and Superintendent Loeffner, I'm making a recommendation that since those routes will be expiring at the end of the 19 and 20 school year, and we did honor the qualifications that were required for a bid opening in lieu of all of the COVID-19 implications now and some of the unforeseen into the future, I'm recommending that we reject all of the bid proposals that we opened on May 4th.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. Board, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move that we reject the 2020 school bus contract proposals and extend, at this time, extend the regular contracts from last year.
Extend them. That's the next.
That's another item, Dr.
That's
Clayton.
another item? Okay, I'm not seeing, okay, I'm sorry.
You're telling the end of the story.
Okay, I will remove that. Let me make that over again. Madam President, I move that we reject the 2020 school bus contract proposals.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or comments about this? But Dr. Clayton already told us the end, so.
Well, I would like to say this. I tell you, thank you, because I know that it would be sort of difficult for people to get buses in and to have the foresight to do that. I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments on this item? All those in favor of rejecting the 2020 school bus contract proposals, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so this item is approved. And next we have the extension of all the current contracted bus routes for the 2021 school year.
Okay, board, before you, you also have a spreadsheet of what we're currently paying on all of our contracted routes. And again, after much consideration and deliberation, I can't say how thankful all of our current contracted bus route owners are of all of the board and the leadership that they've seen over the last couple of weeks as we brought this for the agenda. Again, we go back to there's so many things and impacts of COVID-19, and this is one of those uncertain times, and I know they're all appreciative. So I'm making a recommendation. You see the spreadsheet before you of where we're at currently on an annual basis and on a 2-week pay period basis for all of the current routes. I'm making a recommendation that we extend those for 1 year, and that on paper, those contracts would go from July 1st of 2020 through June 30th of 2021. That is a 1 year. However, it will follow our adopted school calendar for the first day of school. If that changes, then obviously we'll let our contracted bus route owners know that as well. But they're very appreciative, and I make that recommendation that we extend those routes for the 2021 school year at their current per diem rate of pay.
Okay. Thank you, Chad. Board, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President, this is the second part. I move that we accept the recommendation to extension of all current contract bus routes for 2021 school year as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. May I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or comments on this?
I do have a question. Chad, you said, and I'm going to call you Dr. Chad, okay? That the contract would be from July 1 to June 30th. Is that going into the, what do I want to say? Is that going into the 24 pay? The reason I thought we did that when, they started their contracts when school started. Has that changed?
No, that's typically just the standard adopted bus contract that we get from the Department of Education. That's the term that they normally run. However, within that contract language, it always will state that it's subject to the official board adopted school calendar as their official first day. We also keep in mind pay them for one other day for them to get their bus route sheets, meet
Right.
with myself and our staff, and conduct their safety meeting. So that'll be in that contract as well. But it certainly just incorporates the school calendar, the 181 days, and it would be paid at their per diem rate.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I just, I'll leave it alone. You got the state thing, but I was just thinking, sometimes I get a call and say, well, how come I've got a contract to July 1st, but what you're telling me is that you will put the start date, the first school date, right? Or the
Yes,
start
sir.
date. Okay. So you're doing something on a contract, but you just told us July 1st to June 30th, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. That'll cover our official start date whenever that happens to be in late July or to be determined, and that'll also take us well through the end of the last school day, sometime in late May or early June of 2021.
Okay, because I guess what I was thinking is that, well, we started July 1st, then they're getting the 2019-20 check, and then now 2020, they're overlapping. So, okay, I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah, and that'll ensure that there's no gap in pay as well. I think their last pay of their 26 pays is the very last day of, I think it's July 30th, perhaps, is the last pay for 26 pays. And then that following pay, we are going to go over to 24 pays. Remember that for all
Right.
staff.
Right.
So that first pay of the new 24 pay period, I believe, is going to be set for August 7th.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, all those in favor of extending all current contracted bus routes for the 2021 school year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins? Okay. Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
And I say aye, so this item is approved.
Thank you, board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chad. I know you did a lot of work on that.
Our next item is surplus and obsolete items.
Yes, ma'am. Again, you have a spreadsheet before you, and what we're again doing, this is probably the second of potentially 4 back-to-back auctions that we will be having. The first auction went off very, very well. We were very happy with the overall outcome. Before you tonight, you have an updated list of new surplus and obsolete items. It's certainly not comprehensive. We plan on bringing another list to you at the May 26th board meeting, which will probably be very, very lengthy as far as the number of items, as we anticipate having emptied out Maple and Spring Hill, allowing every principal to come in and shop, if you will, for items that are not going to Franklin Square. And then whatever's left will certainly be on that extended list, an extensive list on May 26th. This list before you will go to a live auction. I just talked to Mr. Crum today. He feels like Friday he'll go live, and that will run for a period of 2 weeks. And then we'll be able to have the updated list again and continue that all the way through the middle or late June time period is what we anticipate.
Okay, thank you. Board, may I have a motion, please?
Madam President, I move that we approve, excuse me, I have to find it now. Approve the auction of the items on this spreadsheet provided by Mr. Shank, and it will be with Lincoln Crum Auctions on May 13th.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perkins. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gilkey. Any questions or comments about these items? Or this item right here? Okay. All those in favor of approving the surplus and obsolete items for auction with Lincoln Crum, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey?
Aye.
Dr. Clayton?
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so this item is passed. And we do not have any public comments on non-agenda items. So we come to our board comments. Mr. Hawkins, anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Gilkey?
No, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Clayton?
I want to thank Bill for leaving his job in Hawaii and rushing over to the meeting.
It was a tight flight, but I made it.
Looks good, Bill. Looks good.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Buckwalter?
No, thank you.
Ms. Perkins?
Yeah, I just have one comment about Mr. Lautner's cabinet. I just want to thank them for all the hard work they've been putting in. You know, we're sitting at home and working from home and all that, but I cannot imagine the number of hours you're putting in to get all of this finished and to make sure we have a good finish for our school year. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. And I would like to reiterate what Ms. Perkins said. I'm thinking of all the things that are going on while we're not at school or in our regular board capacity, you know, in person, and the meal program, the things that we're going to discuss next week at our work session, especially the virtual academy, the different projects that are still being carried out because a lot of them are outdoors, and the companies are still working or beginning work, trying to figure out something for our graduation for our students. And it just, you know, everybody's just carrying on and almost in, you know, given 200% because everything is different and it has to be done sometimes differently. So I just appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Loeffner?
Yeah, I want to reiterate those same comments. I mean, the cabinet, number one, they're great to work with. They always have great ideas and get things done quickly. And so, you know, that's been very helpful to me and refreshing to watch. I also, you know, As you guys know, Friday is our last student day. And I want to thank our teachers for what they've done, with the e-learning, jumping into that for almost 2 months straight. It's not what e-learning was supposed to be for, but, they did it, and they did it pretty well. We've had very few complaints from our parents, and students, and a lot of that is because our teachers and our teachers and principals have really done a good job with the e-learning program. So, I appreciate what they've done with that, and congratulate them on making it to the end of the year here on the 15th.
Okay.
Mark, did you want to share a little bit about the recognitions our schools have received since our last board meeting, such as Jeff High?
Yeah, Jeff High was recognized as a STEM, one of the top 30 STEM high schools in the country. I think it was 26th or 27th, I'm trying to recall. And that just goes to the great work that they've done, not only in the engineering program, but the health sciences, the computer sciences, the number of students they have enrolled in those programs, the projects they do. I mean, it's, and it's a great program. It fits right into our academy model, and they've done an absolutely great job with it. I also, if you saw on Facebook, Natalie received a nice accolade there yesterday for what she's done, and the amount of work she's done over the last couple of months delivering, food and meals has been amazing. So we have a lot of great things going on, throughout the district. And there's a lot of things you don't see. I mean, just trying to get Franklin Square ready, whether it's technology with Melissa Bauer or Chad and Todd finishing up the construction side. There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are going pretty well. And I will say, if you get a chance to drive by either Jeff High or Charlestown High and look at what they're doing with the football fields, it's sort of an interesting process to watch and see.
Mark, I went over at the baseball field. It really looks good.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Loeffner. Renee?
Good.
All right. Thank you for everything, Renee.
This has been good.
Okay. And finally, board, may I have a motion for adjournment?
Madam President, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton. May I have a second?
Second.
It's like nobody wants to adjourn.
Y'all don't want to go home?
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
We are?
Okay. All of those in favor of adjourning, Mr. Hawkins,
Aye.
Ms. Gilkey,
Aye.
Dr. Clayton,
Aye.
Mr. Buckwalter,
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
Aye.
Okay, and I vote aye, and we are adjourned.